a lot of women in India don't have this experience and don't have the ability to purchase makeup and feel as empowered with makeup as I did. Was one of the triggering factors behind starting a beauty brand that actually catered towards every type of Indian skin tone as opposed to just the fairer, the lighter women of the world.
Shark Tank, India, how did that happen?
The fear being you don't know what's going to happen in the tank. You don't know if you're going to come out looking very smart or very stupid. But I decided that whatever the outcome, it is something that is making a lot of sense for where the company is in terms of investment and in terms of exposure.
How long was the entire pitch?
It was almost 2 hours.
Oh,
close.
wow.
So that's a surprising fact.
You're looking forward to working with Namita and Aman?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
More often than not, if you simmer, if you go through that little bit of a low, little bit of a high, that's real life.
You can't aim for perfection every single time because then you'll never launch.
The difference between success and failure is execution.
100%. Your idea is just an idea.
Right?
If you can't execute it, then someone else will.
Yeah. Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Happy Hour with Fin Cocktail. Today our guest is Karishma Keval Ramani, the founder of Faye Beauty. Faye, short for Fair and Equal, is a beauty company that creates products for every single skin tone of brown skin. Faye is all about inclusivity and breaking traditional beauty standards. Her vision recently secured a deal on Shark Tank India 4 from Namita Thapar and Aman Gupta. She was able to raise 1 crore in exchange for 1.5% equity. That's crazy, right? Faye is more than just makeup. It's about making beauty accessible for everyone. I'm so excited to learn all about it. Welcome, Karishma, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited. You have no idea. Can you please get right into it and tell me how you came about Faye Beauty, what inspired you, and especially talk about how, you were inclined towards building something for the brown skin tone?
Sure. So I'll tell you briefly about my childhood and my background.
Yes.
I've always been extremely excited about makeup. I was the kid who used to sit on the weekends and give my mother a manicure and pedicure. And it was the best part of my weekend. And running joke in the family was always that I'm going to grow up and open a salon. Like that was it, right? Because I used to peak. I used to wait to go to the salon. I used to wait to go and have that experience. I remember being very, very insecure as a child, very conscious of how I looked, not really fitting into conventionally what is considered beautiful. And I remember for the first time feeling very confident when I started using makeup. Even my college essay, when I went to college abroad, was about the power of makeup and how it's like a mask or like a shield to empower women. And the realization back home, even my mom is duskier than I am, way duskier, that a lot of women in India don't have this experience and don't have the ability to purchase makeup and feel as empowered with makeup as I did was an eye-opener. Was one of the triggering factors behind starting a beauty brand that actually catered towards every type of Indian skin tone as opposed to just the fairer, the lighter women of the world. I felt like we're a country with melanated skin and we are not representing them enough, and that was the inspiration and the reason that I started Faye.
Nice. And you're so right. Like most of the beauty brands that exist and have come to India always came from the Western world, and they took kind of notes from there.
Exactly.
So it's about time that we have some homegrown brands.
Exactly. And back when I started Faye, there weren't those many homegrown brands. It was mostly westernized brands that were catering to India. There were a few Indian brands that were doing a lot of great work, but it wasn't enough. And you know how big this market is. There's always room for more and more. And the brands that were catering to brown skin tone were doing it at a price point that wasn't making sense for India. And that's where I felt like that gap needed to be fixed.
Yeah, that's so, so true. Can you tell me some hurdles that you faced early on and, through your journey as you built Faye?
Yeah, so I think the first hurdle that I experienced was back in 2018 and 2019 beginning when I started the brand. Homegrown beauty wasn't a thing back then. There was sugar, I remember very clearly. There was Nykaa, I remember very clearly. But there were very few small brands like my own, right? Today there's too many. Today every time I open Instagram there's a new beauty brand. But back then it was not normal, which meant that manufacturers were not ready to manufacture at small MOQs. That was the biggest hurdle. Not only were they not ready to manufacture at smaller MOQs, they were also not willing to take a bet on a small potential small brand, right? They didn't know if I'd be able to pay them. They didn't know if I'd be able to match MOQs. They didn't know if my stock would move. And they're interested in repeat business. They're not
Yeah.
interested in a one-off,
Yeah.
So I think just getting my foot into the door and convincing one manufacturer to first of all innovate on a new formula
Yeah.
and then take on my business
Yeah.
was the biggest hurdle I faced back then.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what about since then? A couple.
What are the
after
other
that?
hurdles?
Yes.
I think finding product market fit,
Yeah.
right? It takes a while to finally hit gold,
Yes.
for lack of a better word. And we kept pushing the boundaries of innovation. We kept bringing new kinds of formulas to market, but it took us a while to get to the point where we got mass recognition.
Mhm.
And mass recognition is needed in order to financially survive.
100%.
That's what I think was another hurdle that took us some time.
Yeah.
We were not a one-hit wonder and we
Yeah.
didn't succeed overnight.
Yeah.
It took us a long time to get to where we are.
And it's so incredible, right? Because one hit wonders are the stories that people always tell.
Yes.
And they tend to kind of go viral.
And that becomes like the benchmark.
हाँ, but
Yeah.
I'm like, नहीं यार, ऐसा सबकी story ऐसी नहीं होती है.
Yeah, it's not
And
the
that's,
truth.
yeah, it's not the truth.
Yeah.
And hard work in the long term and in the long kind of effort that, for
Yeah.
example, now you're building Faye.
Yeah.
It's not for ki 1-2 years and then we'll figure out what.
Yeah.
It's about the long game.
Yeah.
So
It's very much the long game.
right?
Yeah.
And getting to the long game
Mhm.
now. So Shark Tank India, how did that happen? When did that happen?
So, obviously everyone knows about Shark Tank,
Yes.
right? And it was always something that I watched. I was very
Yeah.
excited. I used to watch it in the US, Shark Tank US, came back to India to watch it. And it was always a discussion topic at dinner. And no one in my family or even I ever thought about it, to be completely frank, because, and I talk about this even on the show, where I said that I was always nervous to come on Shark Tank before because I felt like my numbers were not good enough.
Okay.
But I did have a turnaround story. And
Yeah.
at that point, I felt like these are respectable numbers and it's worth exposing my brand to this. For two reasons. One is the coverage that you get when you go to Shark Tank. But secondly, is to bring on board strategic investors, right? I saw the types of sharks that were there and I knew that each one of them could add certain value.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call it my idea. It was definitely my community that pushed me to do it, whether it was friends or whether it was my current investors. They encouraged me. They said, why don't you think about it? And I initially thought, I don't know if I can do
Yeah,
this. It's too much
yeah.
exposure.
Yeah.
But I decided that, I'm doing the riskiest thing of my life by following this career.
Yeah.
What's another risk, right?
Fair.
The fear being you don't know what's going to happen in the tank. You don't
Yeah.
know if you're going to come out looking very smart or very stupid.
You
But I
held your
decided-
own, don't worry.
but I decided that whatever the outcome, it is something that is making a lot of sense
Mhm.
for where the company is
Yeah.
in terms of investment and in terms of exposure.
Mhm. And coming to investment,
Yes.
you secured a deal.
Yes.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's for 1.5% equity.
Yes.
And you got 1 whole crore for it. That's incredible.
Yes.
And you got 2 sharks
Yes.
for the price of 1.
Well.
For the actually expensive, but theek hai.
Yeah.
So tell us about the whole experience, the negotiation, and how did you finally kind of, get that?
It was incredible. I have such positive things to say about the entire experience. For me, it was wonderful. I think the negotiation. So of course, what you see on TV is a short excerpt.
Mhm.
It went on for longer, right?
So how long
Um,
was the entire pitch?
It was
and all
almost
that?
2 hours.
Oh,
close.
wow.
So that's a surprising fact that
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know is that it's not that short, right?
Uh-huh.
You're going through effectively a 2-week evaluation process condensed into 2 hours, right? So
Correct.
they're going to ask you questions.
Of
If they're putting
course.
money into you, they need to know everything.
Yeah.
So it goes on for longer than what you see,
Mhm.
obviously. And the negotiation also went on for a while. And
Mhm.
it was confusing. But I decided that, bringing Namita and Aman on board
Mhm.
was worth the equity sort of dilution that we took on.
100%.
So very happy with the outcome. I think that I'm glad that I held my ground to the point that I did, but I'm also glad that Aman and Namita saw enough value to come to the number that I was also. Sort of we met in the middle is what I'd say. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how were the sharks to you in the tank when you were pitching, etc.?
They were awesome. They were really humble. I think my biggest, despite Vinita not being a shark that invested, I think one of the biggest learnings that I went away from with Shark Tank was how to be so gracious to competitors.
That's so nice.
She was so nice to me, and I remember a lot of the prep and planning that I did before
Mhm.
going on to the episode was thinking about what the kind of questions were that she would ask me, because she's an expert, right? She
Yes.
knows exactly what she's
Yeah.
doing. But the grace with which she dealt with me, despite being in the same line of work, was incredible. All the sharks were incredibly gracious. They asked some tough questions.
Mhm.
They asked a lot of tough questions.
That's
whether
their
it needed-
job, right?
Yeah,
They need to.
but I think they were also very receptive to my perspective, which is very
Nice.
important, right? They weren't the type of folks to say it's my way or the highway. It's,
Yeah.
okay, there's different ways of building brands,
Yeah.
and this is your way.
Nice. Very cool.
Mm.
What were you when you built your pitch, right? What was going through your mind before you built it, and what actually happened? Because sometimes what happens is, when you're walking kind of the path before, you're overthinking, like you said, that
Mm.
they were really gracious, but you were prepared.
Yeah.
So you're prepping. You're stressed about, like, this one will ask me this one will ask me that.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be, okay, it was not as bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that literally what happened?
Yeah. I mean, I think I must have watched 150 pitches on Shark Tank before I
Damn.
went. That's all I did. 450. When I got the call, you get like a 5-day heads up or something.
Oh, that's it? 5 days?
Yeah, I think 5-6 days.
Oh,
That's
wow.
it.
Okay.
And I just watched Shark Tank
Nice.
non-stop. I wanted to understand the kinds of questions most
Yeah.
people get. And I do have a benefit because I have done a lot of VC pitching in my
Mhm.
life.
Mhm.
So I had a lot of context, and I've been through some really bad pitches, and I've been through some really great
good
pitches.
ones. Yeah.
So I knew how bad it could go if it goes bad. I knew
Yeah.
how good it could go if it goes good. And so I had a notebook. I had a
Mhm.
Shark Tank notebook. I made maybe
Nice.
200 questions in that, and I had
Wow.
an answer to every question.
Wow.
So I was very happy with the outcome, because I think I kind of tried to anticipate whatever was going to
Yeah.
happen.
That's it. The prep pays off for
Yeah,
sure.
it does. For sure. No doubt.
And when you were thinking of, like pitching for Shark Tank, it's
Yeah.
not like, you're going to sign a form one day and then tomorrow you're going to be on TV.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not.
It's not
it's
like
very
that.
rigorous. So
Yeah.
I remember I might get the months a bit wrong, but I think I applied first in July.
Okay.
And it's like a college app. You're filling out like 10 pages of information.
Nice.
If that's good, then they'll send you another application,
Mhm.
another 10 pages.
Mhm.
And they're asking you details, right? They're
Mm.
asking you everything about yourself. They're trying to understand you about as a
Yeah.
person and your
Mm.
company. And then you submit a Hindi audition,
Mm.
video Hindi audition. And if that goes through, then they call you in person in Bombay.
Mhm.
At least I got called in Bombay, where they do an in-person audition where you
Mhm.
do a pitch
Okay.
in front of folks from production,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And they grill you. Like, they act like sharks, and it's tough.
Yeah.
And it's recorded.
Yeah.
And if that goes through, then 5 or 6 days before you have to film, they gave me a call saying, you're filming on X date, be ready.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really cool. Because
It took like, I think, 3-4 months.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
a lot of people say that, oh, why is it so tough? Why is it like this? Why is it like that? They are putting in their money into
Absolutely.
your business.
It makes complete sense.
Exactly.
You can't put half-baked information on TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you look at any other VC pitch, for example,
Yeah.
if you were meeting these sharks out in the real world,
Yeah.
it would be worse.
Yeah, you go through 3 rounds of,
Yes.
analysts,
100%.
VPs, vice presidents before you reach
You
the shark.
don't reach the sharks just like that. Aisa
No,
nahi
you
hai ki,
don't.
like,
Yeah.
oh, they have random access to people. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like
And
that.
every piece of data that I said on TV, right, is vetted by the
Yes,
team. You can't just
yes.
say I did X revenue. You
Yeah.
need to prove it.
Obviously. Yeah.
So it's a rigorous process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nice. I'm glad that you went through this process and came out stronger, I'm
Yes.
sure. What were your expectations from Shark Tank India, and how has it been after? I'm sure, are people recognizing you?
I would say that the brand recognition has increased. A lot of folks have reached out talking about how they appreciate understanding the journey, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, everyone only talks about extreme success. Nobody talks about the fact that you sometimes go through
Really?
a low before getting there.
Yes.
So I think that has been very positive. We've gotten the chance to sort of expose ourselves to more people.
Yeah.
More people know about Face. So
Yeah.
that's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And we love telling stories that are a little bit like, they're simmered
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah.
We don't like this like extra high heat pe boil karke
Yeah.
ho gaya.
Yeah.
Because I think more often than not, if you simmer, if you go through that little bit of a low, little bit of a high, that's real life.
Yeah.
Because
It
that
is.
one hit wonder may stay, may not, you never know.
And only very few people get lucky with that. It's not the
Exactly.
reality of
Yeah.
everyone's life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're sharing this with us. So now you're looking forward to working with Namita and Aman?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
What do you think? What are you hoping that you learn from both of them?
So I was pretty clear about what I wanted from each of them. With Namita, it's trying to unlock access to even better R&D networks. Of course, she's sort of the queen over there. And with Aman, it's brand building, right?
Yeah.
He successfully built an incredible brand in an incredible amount of time, and I think he's done it with capital efficiency. So I think learning that from him would be incredible.
I know. He's literally the king of that. So
Yes.
we have the queen and
Yeah,
king
king and queen together. Yeah.
I love it. See, I think a lot of people will say this, but you've gone on Shark Tank India, you have secured a deal, you've held your own, you've answered the questions well. According to me, that is a sign of a successful founder. A lot of people across India have this vision that Shark Tank India has changed towards entrepreneurship, right? That you go there, you secure a deal, yes, you're on the path to success.
Yeah.
What do you think? How would you define a successful founder in the industry that you're in? Because that's your perspective.
Good question. For me, I think, look, success can be measured with financial outcomes. It can be measured with fundraising. It can be measured in so many ways.
Yeah.
But personally,
Mhm.
for me, success is mission related.
Lovely.
I'm super focused on my mission of building inclusively,
Mhm.
right? I want to make more women feel confident.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm successful if I can successfully make X amount of women feel empowered and confident every year.
Absolutely.
And if I'm able to do that, I know the money will come,
Yeah.
right? Because if they are feeling empowered as a result of Faye, they're going to come back and buy more.
Yeah.
So for me, that one KPI or KRA
Mhm.
will ensure that I'm a successful founder because I'm extremely focused on my mission.
Yeah.
That's what success would mean to me.
That's amazing. I think that's one of the best answers I've gotten for this success
Thank
story.
you.
But with your mission, because it's such a kind of big burden,
Mhm.
there's also a lot of responsibility that comes along with it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So how do you tackle that?
I think we're not afraid to accept our mistakes.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a very big burden to carry, right?
Yeah.
To now be the flag bearer of inclusivity in India. I'm not saying that I'm the only one, first of
Of
all, right?
course.
I would love to clarify that because I'm not the only inclusive brand.
Yeah.
But I am a brand in which my only focus is inclusivity.
Yeah.
Now, what I say when we do that is we're doing our best.
Mm.
But if we miss the mark somewhere, we're not afraid to reel back and say, look, we weren't as inclusive as we could have been over here.
Mm.
Here's us showing you now how we'll do better.
Yeah.
That's how we carry the burden. We're not, I think even as an entrepreneur, even my investors tell me this. You can't aim for perfection every single time because then you'll never launch.
Very
You
true.
will just be tweaking and tweaking.
Very true.
You launch your MVP and you keep iterating.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying your product should not be as good as it can be.
Yeah.
But if you can't launch 50 shades, start with 15, build up to 50.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We're iterative with our process.
That's amazing because a lot of people say that the difference between success and failure is execution.
100%. Your idea is just an idea.
Right?
If you can't execute it, then someone else will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And an idea is just that, right? It's a thought, it's a fleeting thought.
Exactly. If you can't put pen to paper,
There's no
it's
point.
nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, we've spoken about simmering and, having highs and lows and all of that. Through your journey, what has kept you motivated? Because it's a difficult task, that kind of difficult path that you're on.
Yeah.
Because building an inclusive brand, especially for the brown skin in the makeup industry, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of talk, there is a lot of perspectives. What has kept you going? What has kept you motivated?
It might sound repetitive, but for me, Faye is actually who I am as a person.
Yeah?
Right? I'm so inherently that person
Yeah.
that I don't know anything else.
That's so
Like,
nice.
it's that basic for me that what keeps me going at the end of the day is going to sleep or waking up thinking I'm building an inclusive beauty brand. I have been this girl since I was 16.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to be this girl since I was 16. So I've been in other career paths as
Mhm.
well, but they were unfulfilling.
Yeah.
So I know that the fact that I can work 17, 18 hours a day and still feel excited the next morning to go to work, I don't need any other motivation.
100%.
Right? It's just part of who I am today.
That's the dream. That you're literally living the dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, changing gears a little bit and getting into the financial aspect of it.
Hmm.
Now, we are Fin Cocktail. We talk about money.
Yeah.
It's just what we do.
Sure.
So, as a founder of a beauty brand, yes, I agree that your mission is what it is, but you have to also be financially viable, right?
Yes.
Because you're not a not-for-profit.
Yes.
So, how do you deal with the financials, and what are some of the priorities that you have as a business overall And yeah, we'll get into funding later.
So I think the priority for me right now, in terms of the next big milestone for Faye, is to be an Indicon.
Mhm.
We want to hit 100 crores profitably, right?
Lovely.
That is not, it is not impossible, but
Mhm.
it is very difficult.
It is.
A lot of beauty brands today are burning a lot of money, and that's
Mhm.
because the industry is too competitive. But we wanna scale without burning. So, very, very, very focused on the financials of the company.
Mhm.
We go through MIS almost on a twice to thrice a week basis,
Yeah.
just to understand what the numbers are looking like on the top line and the bottom line, and if there's anything that's compromising our bottom line, we need to shift gears.
Yeah.
So for me, slow burn, right? Very similar to my entrepreneurial journey is the way to
Simmering.
go. Yeah, simmering.
Simmering is nice.
I want to get there as fast as possible, but I'm
Mhm.
not going to do it unsustainably.
You're not going to compromise your financials for growth.
Not to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Of course, there's always a give and take, right?
Yeah.
At some point, every business has to burn a little bit when fixed costs increase, when certain one-time investments happen. But overall, as long as your CM2 numbers are healthy, which is what my focus is, you will manage to cover up those
Yeah.
costs, which is what we focus on.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And you have to strike a balance somewhere.
You have to.
It
Yeah.
can't just keep going on like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So what would you say to a founder who's young and freshly minted and maybe who wants to start something in the beauty or beauty adjacent industry? Little bit of piece of advice, maybe 3 things.
I'd say if you're building in beauty, first of all, please very clearly define why you exist.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just another beauty brand,
That's like,
it's not enough.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just going to kill you.
yeah.
You know, you need to have a very strong why. You need to have a reason that your consumers will come back to repurchase your
Mhm.
products. So if your products are one-time wonders, might not be the best idea.
Yeah.
And you need to stay extremely financially frugal. At least that's what I would do had I had the chance to start this over. Just keep your eyes on the numbers, because it's very easy to get caught up
Yeah.
in the top line without
Yeah.
focusing on the bottom. But
Yeah.
I personally believe there's not much value of a large loss-making company, but there's a lot of value of a mid-sized profit-making company.
Yes.
So those are the 3 pieces of advice I give. And
Sindhi.
also, yeah,
Sindhi, no.
very Sindhi.
Has to be. Comes from within.
Comes from within, absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of mistakes that early founders make or new young founders make is that they blur the lines between the business and themselves.
Okay.
Not in terms of, like, for example, how you said that this is who you are as a person, Faye is who you are.
Yeah.
That is one thing. But I'm talking about financially. A lot of times they kind of blur the lines between the finances of the business and themselves. And that can get tricky very, very quickly. So what do you do to kind of separate your personal and business finances?
I mean, unfortunately, sometimes the founder is the person who takes the financial hit
Yes.
for the company going
Yeah.
up and down, right? There have been many months where I haven't taken a salary.
No, I'm not talking
Um,
about that. I'm talking about, like, sometimes, for example, when you get funding, you take the team out to
Oh my God.
whatever, etc.
Oof.
Like, and then it's a slippery slope, because what you actually raised the money for versus what you're spending on,
Yeah.
you can't lose focus.
No, you can't. I mean, you have a big responsibility to someone else. I have never spent. I just think that that's very questionable, because I understand that it happens, right?
Yeah.
No doubt about that. It's very slippery a slope. But I think that the minute you take on money, you have to realize that it's not just you anymore. There is a greater power at play here.
Yeah.
And at least for me, I've always had a very high sense of self-respect.
Yeah.
And I never want to embarrass myself.
Yeah.
Because eventually you're going to have to justify how you spent that money.
Of course.
And having to justify that in front of an investor is just uncomfortable. Why would you put yourself in that
Yeah.
situation? So I think if you're taking money and you feel like you're not too good with drawing a boundary, just don't. Just don't take on the money, because it's also illegal to spend it on things that are not, directly contributing to the benefit of the company. So
Very true.
yeah.
Nice. And what do you do personally to manage your own money? Because this is a question that we ask everybody.
Yeah.
Because it is, FinCocktail is
Of
a
course.
personal finance brand.
Yeah. I have a certain amount of money that I put aside every month, and I invest in partly in stocks, partly in mutual funds.
My dream.
And the rest just, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I split up my money into what I'll use, what I'll invest in mutual funds, and what I'll invest in stocks every month.
That's amazing.
that I can
and
hit my
so
long-term
many
goals.
people, so many founders do not do this planning. And I
Yeah,
really,
it's important, yeah,
Yeah.
for your future.
Yeah, 100%. Because yes, I agree, you need to focus on your business, but there has to be certain amount of time that you kind of, put aside to learn a little bit about your personal finances and manage it a little bit.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so changing gears a little bit again, I wanted to understand where Faye is right now.
Mhm.
So I wanted to know what is it that put you on the map, right? What are some of the products that are like literally flying off the shelves?
Yeah.
And where do you see Faye in the next 5 to 10 years? It sounds like an interview for an HR company, but I mean well, I really do.
Yeah. No, so I'd say for us, there's one product that put us on the map, and then there's been two after that.
Uh-huh.
One is Lip Whip. It's our liquid lipstick.
Yeah.
It flies off the shelf. I think for a good 6 months we couldn't keep it in stock.
Oh, wow.
It was every time we bring more back, it would set out.
Wow.
Their liquid lipsticks are the most comfortable, moussey, airy liquid matte lipsticks you'll ever try.
Nice.
In fact, I have one for you, so I'll give you some. And I think the other two products are Hydra Milk.
Mm-hmm.
It's a milky toner. It's very in trend right now in the East,
Mhm.
and we've managed to crack a formula for it in India. It's incredible. Again, you have to try it to understand what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. And finally, Lush Blush. It's our serum blush. I'm
She's
wearing
it.
it lasts forever. So these are the three products that our community is obsessed with right now.
I love it.
And in terms of where I'd see Faye in the next 5-10 years, I want people to think inclusivity and then make it synonymous with the
With
word
Faye.
Faye.
Yeah.
Right? How in the West you think about, if I think about foundation, I think about Fenty.
Yes.
Because I think 50 foundations, 50 shades,
Yeah.
they've
Incredible.
arrived. That's where I want us to be. I want us to be a part of the top 3 brands that any Indian considers before they buy makeup.
Yeah.
And I want us to make at least 5 crore women by then feel seen, heard, and empowered.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that goal.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Okay, so we have a little bit of a fun section for you.
Okay.
Because I like your brand and it's fun. So I want to make it a little fun. So let's go into the rapid fire. One beauty product that you cannot live without.
My Lush Blush.
Always?
Always.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
5 things in your purse that you always have. You never leave your house without.
A lipstick
Mhm.
from Faye.
From Faye.
Montero LC because I get allergies. My diary
Uh-huh.
where I note down all my sort of points.
Mhm.
A perfume.
Mm-hmm.
And my house keys.
Ah, fair. Nice. A book or resource that has changed your entrepreneurial journey completely.
Honestly, it's not even a resource or a book, but it's my MIS. It's my own MIS. I think just being so attached to it, but obviously not in an obsessive way where all you do is only the MIS, but just having such a strong grasp of your numbers changed
Yeah.
my career completely.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think a little bit of obsession in a
It's always
founder is
good.
needed.
It's needed. I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise you won't survive.
Huh.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think
Yeah.
you'll be there.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, one thing on your bucket list post your Shark Tank India success.
Taking a break. I need a holiday.
She's like, my full bucket is only
My
filled with
bucket is
holiday."
only open. Nothing only in it only right now. I need to
Okay.
start filling it.
I'm going to add one more then. Dream vacation now. Like the next one that you want to have.
I want to go back to Japan. It's my favorite place in the world.
Really?
Yeah, so I think I just really want to go back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we let you go,
Okay.
I will like to ask you another question. Just overall, as the beauty industry kind of evolves, what have you seen in terms of the consumer? How has the consumer evolved? How has the industry evolved?
Mhm.
And where is it going? Where do you see the industry go?
I think consumer has evolved because previously there weren't enough options and now they're sort of spoiled for choice, which makes the industry have to evolve and be more on the ball, right?
Yeah.
You cannot give a consumer a half-baked product anymore. The standards are very high, which is wonderful. It pushes
Yeah.
us all to be more,
Yeah.
to strive to be better. I think even consumers have evolved in terms of awareness
Mhm.
and wanting to know what's in their product and how it's going to benefit them.
They read labels.
They really read labels, which is great. Like Gen Z reads way more labels than my generation,
I
which is
swear.
awesome to see, right? They're
Yeah.
so much more educated.
Yeah.
So I think the industry has to push more and more in terms of innovation. I
Mhm.
think that, gone are the days where people would just blatantly white label products and launch the
Yeah.
same thing again and again in different packaging,
Yeah.
although it still happens.
But it's
A lot
still,
of brands are
yeah.
changing. And where am I seeing it going in the next few years is, I think consumers are going to push us to keep pushing the standard of excellence.
Right?
Give us more, give us better colors, give us better pricing.
Yeah.
Price sensitivity is high
Mhm.
as well, because people want more bang for their buck today.
Yeah.
We don't notice that people are wanting to buy cheaper products, but
Yeah.
so for example, back in the day, if someone wanted to, the trend was people wanted to only spend 600 rupees on makeup.
Yeah.
Right now they want to spend a little bit more, but they want two or three products in that same price
Correct.
point. So what I'm trying to say, they want more value for money. So I
Mhm.
think brands have to be more focused
Yeah.
on delivering value. I
Yeah.
think these are the few things that I think are changing over time.
Nice. I like it. There's also a little bit of a health aspect that every single industry is
Yes.
kind of creeped into, right?
Yes, everyone's thinking about benefits.
Yeah.
Even for Faye, the last 4 products that we've launched, whether they're color or skin, of course, but color cosmetic products that we've launched all have functional benefits.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer enough to just deliver a
It's
colored
not.
blush, right? Your blush has to give you more. Your lipstick has to give you more.
Everything has to
And
give
that's
you
what we're
more.
focused on. Yeah, yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much, Karishma,
Thank
for
you.
coming and sharing your story here with us.
Thank you for having me.
It was a fabulous chat, and yeah, I learned so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. Everybody, if you like the chat, don't forget to leave us a comment. Tell us who else you may want to see on this show. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.